there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're looking at chapter 6 of book 3. We're continuing where we left off. Starting in book 3, chapter 6, he's going to basically, as he said in the previous chapter, he ended on let us again take again, but taking up again each virtue again. Let's take up each virtue again. And let us say what they are, what sort of things they're concerned with, and in what way. At the same time, how many there will be, and will be clear as well on this. But he's going to review totally again the virtues, okay, each by each. Chapter 6, he says, well, we're going to start with courage. So we're going to start with courage, and first, let us speak about courage. Now. In that sense. So it's going to be here in that sense. Courage. He says what? He says, now that it is a mean in respect to fear and confidence, right? Boldness, expressive boldness. I mean, confidence has been apparent. In other words, he says, remember that virtue is a mean between excess and like this. So therefore, it's about fear. It's about response to fear and the absence, this boldness, the sense of outward. The problem is, what is the opposite of fear? He's going to say confidence, but I think we understand confidence of being firm. It's foolish. It's being absence of fear, complete absence of fear. Without any fear. This is not a confidence, but I think this is misleading to say confidence. He's saying that this is a kind of, it's already clear. They said that the original account was that we have fear in this sense that we lack fear in that sense. It's insatiable. It says, it is clear that we fear frightening things, and that these are, so to speak, unqualified, bad things. So in other words, the idea in one sense that what do we fear? We fear bad things. In other words, frightening things. And these are, to speak, unqualified things, bad things. Hence, people also define fear as the anticipation of a bad thing. And this is footnote 9. This is, again, Pythagoras 58 D 6 and 7, and Laches 198b, right? This is from Plato. Plato talks about this idea that it's a anticipation of the bad. We fear then all the bad things. For example, what are the bad things? For example, disrepute, poverty, sickness, friendlessness, and death. So these are the bad things: disrepute, poverty, sickness, friendlessness, and death. But the courageous person is not held to be concerned with all these. For some things one even ought to fear. There are some things one even should fear in that sense, right? And it is noble or beautiful to do so, and shameful not to. For example, disrepute. In other words, that if you don't fear disrepute, that's kind of shameful in that sense, right? Since he who fears this is decent and bashful, whereas he who does not is shameless, though he is said by some to be courageous in a metaphorical sense. He bears a certain likeness to the courageous man because the courageous man is, in fact, a sort of fearless person, right? So therefore, but this person is shameless, that he has no fear of disrepute. It is, in other words, it's metaphorically similar. But courage is about what? It is a fearlessness, right? This courage is a kind of fearlessness, but it's not an utter senseless fearlessness, right? One ought not to fear poverty, perhaps, or sickness, or in general anything that is not the result of vice or one's own doing. So therefore you should fear, in other words, the question of what you should rightfully fear is not things that you can't control. You should fear in other words, things that are things that are within your control. The argument here seems to be right that anything that's not result of vice or one's own doing. So therefore, one ought not to fear these things that are maybe outside of your control, or in general, anything that is not the result of your choice. Vice again is your choice, right, and or one's own doing. But he who is fearless concerning these things is not courageous either. In other words, if you're not afraid of poverty, not afraid of being sick, or not necessarily afraid of vice, right? To being vicious, this is not courage either. Though we do say he too is fearless by a certain similarity to who is truly courage. So what is the truly courage is not merely just any fear, right? For though some may be cowards in the dangers of war, they are nonetheless liberal and cheerfully confident in the face of a loss of money. So in other words, they may be cowards in danger of war, but they are nevertheless liberal and cheerfully confident in the face of not having money, right? And some who is afraid of wanton violence against someone who is afraid of wanton violence against his children and a wife, or malicious envy, or something of this sort, is not a coward. In other words, someone who is, in other words, afraid of violence against his children and his wife, or something, or malicious envy, is not a coward in this sense. Nor if a person is confident when he's about to be flogged. In other words, nor is a person is confident when he's about to be flogged, is he courageous. In other words, nor if a person is confident when he's about to be flogged. In other words, okay, why? What is that? Flogged is that you should be shamed. In other words, you're being flogged means you're being shameful. It's something shameful. You're being punished, right? You shouldn't be confident in that moment. That is wrongful confidence in that sense. That you should. It's a shamelessness of your. This is not a courageous person in that sense. It looks like courage, but it isn't in that sense. With what sort of frightening things then is the courageous man concerned? So what kind of things, he's asked? Or is he concerned with those that are in such that are such to the greatest degree, or is he concerned with those that are such frightening to the greatest degree? So is it what sort of things, or is he concerned only with the greatest things? Right? For no one more steadfastly endures terrible things. For no one more steadily endures terrible things. And the most frightening thing is death. For it is a limit or end, right? It's telos, an end, right? A limit. And there seems to be nothing else for the dead, nothing either good or bad. So therefore the death, there's nothing, it's interesting. He says that death is an end, it's an limit in that sense. And there seems to be nothing else for the dead, nothing either good or bad. But the courageous man would seem not to be concerned with death in any, or would not be concerned in death or every circumstance. For example, death at sea or by way of illness. In what circumstance then? Or is it the noblest or more beautiful, the noblest? This is superlative of Cologne. Of the noblest or the most beautiful. Such deaths are those that occur in war. So it's again, this is courage seems to be in face of war, right? For they happen amidst the greatest and noblest dangers. In other words, it's confronting the greatest and most beautiful dangers. In a noble Cologne, the greatest or most noblest or most beautiful dangers. In agreement with these considerations are also the honors given in cities and by monarchs. In other words, the honors that you give, those who confronting the greatest threats, the dangers, and the greatest and most noble, beautiful dangers. And this is what cities honor that, right? The honors. This is we have the word in English is valor, right? Valor. This idea of we show valor, which is this idea of we responding correctly to the greatest dangers, usually to um, this is the acts of valor, right? We say that this is a um, there was we talk about acts of valor for valor. This is why we give people medals and awards, right? Um, this is the great. This is also the honors that we give. Honors mean we bestow credit and acclaim to honor. In the ruling sense, authoritative sense, keron, right? Sense, then a courageous man could be said to be someone who is fearless when it comes to a noble or beautiful death, and to any situation that brings death suddenly to hand. So in other words, it's something that is someone who's fearless when it comes to a beautiful death, and to any situation that brings death sudden to hand. What pertains to war is above all this character. In other words, war brings this out question. War, conflict, bellicose, war in this sense. Um, Yet surely the courageous man is fearless also at sea and in sickness, although not in the same way that sailors are in that sense. In other words, not merely that he's knowledgeable about this. He's not. In other words, he's fearless that he's not. He's not. He's not. He's not. It's kind of like he's okay when there's a real danger, not just that he's comfortable in sea. He's comfortable doing the thing, and that people who like people aren't used to flying, so maybe a little bit too courage is not being if you're not familiar with something, it's not courage when you're kind of overcoming that initial stage. Courage is a real danger, an imminent danger that is occurring not in the normal circumstance, but in some excessive circumstance, right? Let's continue. He says, for the courageous man despairs the courageous man despairs of his preservation and is disgusted with this sort of death, whereas the sailors are of good hope, given their experience. In other words, the courageous man despairs of his preservation. He doesn't think he'll be. In other words, the sailor is confident. The sailor has confidence. The sailor knows that, oh my God, I know what's going on. I know the ordinary circumstances. Courage at sea is when it's not normal circumstances. It is the care where you are imperiled, right? You are clearly your preservation. He despairs his preservation, and this is not something he and is disgusted with this sort of death, the death that is going to happen. What is the sailor in the normal sailor time knows the situation, knows how to handle it like this. Okay, this is that sense. The same too. The courageous man. The same. Okay, but at sorry, given their experience, right? But at the same time, too, the courageous men act like men. Endia, right? I think at 19 is the word endres, and men in the real man, like this endrea, not which we translate courage, andrea, which we translate courage, but means manliness, right? In other words, as like a real man, manly man. This is courageous work. Endia means manly, right? The courageous act like men in circumstances where prowess in battle is possible or dying is noble, beautiful. But in the sorts of destruction mentioned, by contrast, neither such prowess nor nobility is possible. In other words, in tragedy and action, there's nothing he can do nobly. In other words, he was in something, in such destruction that there is no such prowess or nobility, beautifulness in that sense. Beauty is possible in that sense. In other words, we talk about at the same time too, the courageous men act like men in circumstances where the prowess in battle is possible or dying nobly. But when it's not, they feel kind of dread. They feel dread. They will feel dread. It's not lack of dread. It's dread about the things you cannot. In other words, if there's no hope, when there's no hope, you can feel dread, but still act. Okay. In other words, this is the problem. This is how. There's a beautiful death in that sense, and that you can do things right, you can resist, and you can accomplish, and that you're doing beautifully. Prowess in battle is possible, or dying nobly. If there's no possibility of dying nobly, you can dread. In that sense. That's rightful. So let's stop here. We're going to stop here, and we're going to end this here. If you have any comments or questions, please put them below. We end the first part of things. We'll continue this next on frightening. We'll continue on chapter 7. We'll continue the discussion of courage and what is frightening. Let us put your comments, questions, and I'll respond to them when I see them. If you like it, please hit the like button, share it on social media, spread it wide. It'll help the channel out a lot to get attention and improve the algorithm a little bit. Another thing you can do is, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe. If you know someone who might be interested, introduce them to the channel and encourage them to subscribe as well, because they can grow the channel. Because the more it grows, the more I can do, certain privileges we get. Another thing is, if you didn't like it, you can always hit thumb down, but say why in the comments. If you want to follow me on social media, my social media links are below. And if you want to know more about me as an academic and as a scholar, as a researcher, you can follow below the social media links. There's the academic social media, so you can see my scholarship and my things that I do, and things like that, availability of articles and things like that, and where to find them, social media, academic social media sites. And then the next thing you can do is, if you want to help me to do what I do, because this is, life is expensive these days, you can. Of course, you can always find my academic social media, use my university email, and say, "Hey, I want to help you. Here's a Google Barnes and Noble gift card, or Barnes and Noble, or Amazon, a little better, honestly. I know people don't like it, but or you can simply do so through Subscribe Star Patreon. That's why you can become an annual member, pay like a little bit of $1, something, because it helps. So it'll help me do things. Another way you can help me is if you have not bought my books, or you're interested in buying a book, or of someone who might be interested in something on the stuff I publish on, you can buy one of my books. Now, of course, the LSU book in the Washington University Press, I don't get that much money from it. But if you're studying Aristotle and the politics, get the Lulu book and order it from Lulu, because if you order it from Lulu, I'll get the money that the bookstore gets. But if you want to, okay, I understand. I'll get some money. I'll get a little bit of money if you buy it even to the bookstore. So please, if you want to buy it, you can do so online bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and the other things, or you can go to your local bookstore and ask your local bookstore, please, could you get this for me? If you believe in supporting local bookstores. Well, that's it. We'll see each other next. We'll continue this on chapter 7, which we will go a little more in detail on the question of the frightening, and things like that. Ready? So take care. See you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.